Well, I've just gotten off a conference call. The call, an expert on the Middle East and Iraq and Iran, talked about what's going on in Iraq right now and what Petraeus would say and what Bush would say, how they would spin things, etc. And let me review what she said. First, she talked about the quote-unquote success of the surge. She said that it was only the fourth most important factor in the decline in violence in Iraq, and she said the most important thing was a ceasefire by the al-Sadr, the militia leader the Shiite militia leader. He has had a ceasefire in force for some time now. That was the biggest factor. And then she mentioned the awakening councils. Now, I don't know much about the awakening councils, but these are Sunni groups, apparently, Sunni militias that we are paying, the United States government is paying, to almost protection money. We're paying them to be our buddies and to not to cause problems and not to shoot at us. And they're cooperating as long as we're giving them the money. Third, she says that the country is now segregated by ethnic and religious groups, and ethnically cleansed, and Baghdad in particular is ethnically segregated by Shia, Sunni, and now that the segregation is done, the violence has declined. Now, and then fourth most important would be, and I have the pictures here of the city is rather like an armed camp, or like a fortress, or maybe a concentration camp, because you can see in the previous pictures. Now I have here these pictures here that I've got are the violence within the last 2 weeks. It's the Basra in the south. There was a confrontation in the south, a battle between al-Sadr's militia and al-Maliki, the government, the Baghdad government's forces. And apparently in Basra, the al-Sadr, the rebels, repelled the government troops. So things are not going really in the right direction at all. And the other thing that happened within the last month or so is that al-Sadr and these militias have started to target Americans again. And they've been attacking the green zone. They've been putting in missiles, shooting missiles into the green zone, among other things. So the violence is up. And then the previous pictures I have of people being evacuated from Sadr City in the part of Baghdad called Sadr City. Now, the other thing that was talked about in the conference call is the problem with Iran, and that the administration seems to be itching for a war with Iran. And this is a subtext. They will say that Iran is infiltrating Iraq and they're arming Iraq, and then the Admiral Fallon, or the general, or is it General Admiral? I'm not sure. Fallon resigned within the last few weeks, and Fallon is opposed to any military action in Iran. And they mentioned that the same time that Fallon resigned, Cheney announced that he was going to go on a Middle East tour. Now, there's suspicion, and we know that how Dick loves to drop bombs and create wars where he thinks the wars will advance the the interests of the executive branch of government and the neocons, I guess. So there's lots of concern, and even Congress was asking the question, if you plan a military action against Iran, will you come to Congress for authority? And that was to me that was a rather tense moment, because neither Crocker nor Petraeus could say, "Oh yes, if there's any military action involving other countries, that would come to Congress." Neither of them could give that assurance, and they both sort of punted. They said, "Well, that's above us. We're just lowly people, just dealing with the little small issue of Iraq. We don't even talk about Iran. We don't even think." Although they keep making claims about Iran. So this is all rather disturbing, that nothing really has changed much in Iraq. I'm sorry. Nothing has changed in Iraq, and we still have the same problems, and the administration continues to mislead us, and that they may be planning an attack on Iran. Okay, giving you all this information, the question is, what can we do about this? How can we stop some of this? Now, I'll put some information in the box about email and information, and but they were talking about trying to stop the supplemental appropriations bill. There's going to be a $110 billion supplemental appropriations bill, and if we just stop that, we don't. All we have to do is hold it up in committee. They said hold it up in committee. Don't even let it get out of committee. Don't even let it come to the floor. The other thing they emphasized was we ought to withdraw all troops and all the contractors, because we got as many contractors there as we've got troops. And then I've got the picture here. These are bases. These are semi-permanent U.S. bases in Iraq. We should demand that all of our bases are shut down, and that we get everything out of there, and that there be no residual force. That's the other thing. They're going to have a residual force of 60,000, 40,000 troops, a semi-permanent residual force there with semi-permanent bases. So I'll put the information in the video information box. All right, signing off.